to that particular case.
Bring us to the adoption of the agenda. Chair, entertain a motion.
So moved.
It's been moved
Second.
and properly second. That brings us to item 5 on the agenda. That is opening of the public hearing.
Mr. Chair, point of order, you have to take the vote for the adoption of the agenda.
Thank you very much. Ms. Young, can you call the roll for the motion for the adoption of the agenda?
Malinowski,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Overture Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion passes.
That brings us to item 5 on your agenda, open public hearing. The first item is item A, map amendment, that is case number 21-010 MA. Kelvin Steelman, and that's from PD to PD, that's 8930 Rabbit Run. Tax map number R21800-01-03. Ms. Newton, you want to speak to that before I open that public hearing?
Thank you,
You
Mr. Chair.
recognize.
And thank you to everyone who's here. For the benefit of my constituents, and I know we've had a lot of community meetings about this, just wanted to clarify again that this is a PDD or Planned Development District, which is different from a lot of the rezoning that comes to council for the first time, in that the zoning for housing and commercial development has already been approved and was approved in 2007. What is before us now simply is, are we going to allow the developer to decrease the total number of units of housing that are going to be available on the property? So just wanted to point that out for the benefits of my constituents as we talk about this property. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
That public hearing is for case number 21-010 MA is now open. Ms. McBride, anyone sign up to speak to that public hearing?
Yes, sir. We have Mr. Kevin Steelman. Mr. Steelman, would you please come forward and give your name and address? And you have 2 minutes.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, and thank you all members of council. I'm Kevin Steelman. I'm the president of Landtech Land Development Company here in Columbia, and we're the applicant on this particular property. We've contracted to purchase the residential portion of the property, and as Ms. Newton alluded to, this property was owned as PDD in 2007. And it allowed for a total of 1,040 units as a mixture of single-family attached, single-family detached, and multifamily. And what we have requested in this amendment to the map is to retain those 3 uses, but reduce the number of multifamily units and single-family attached units, and increase the number of single-family detached, so that the overall density goes down to 846 units. And after much discussion with people in the community in the area and just our personal experience, we believe that mixture of land use is more appropriate and consistent with the area. So we would just ask that you approve it.
Steelman, I need your address, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, 522 Lady Street, Columbia, 29201.
Yes, sir.
Chair, entertain a motion for item 5A1. Ms. Newton, you recognize.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve this item pending adopting some modifications to the PDD for to incorporate some of the changes that we've discussed with the community.
You heard the motion, there's a second.
Second.
It's moving properly second. Any discussion? There be none, I'll ask Ms. Arnold to call the roll for the motion for adoption for item 5A1.
Malinowski,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Overture Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Vote no to keep it off the consent agenda to make sure that we can discuss the modifications.
Motion passes.
That brings us to item 5A2, case number 21-019 MA, Robert F. Fuller, That's 1050 Gates Road, tax map number R02509-04-01. That public hearing is now open. Mrs. McBride, anyone sign up to speak for that public hearing?
Yes, sir. We have the applicant and 3 other persons that have signed up. With Mr. Bruce Dyler, is that correct? Please come forward and give your full name and address, and you have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Council. I'm Bruce Dyer. I live at 11 Robin Lynn Lane, Irmo, South Carolina, 29063. I'm the applicant, and my wife, Ginger, we are the ones petitioning for the zoning change on this. Just to give a little history on us, my uncle, Dick Dyer, came to Columbia in 1969. We've been here 52 years, and we still have Toyota, Mercedes, and Volvo in the community. I came in 1983, been here 38 years, and met Ginger. We've been married 35 years now. And I've worked at Dick Dyer Toyota since 1983 and bought Dick out over the years. And I've been a Toyota dealer now for about 20 years. We have a large home on Lake Murray, about 1 mile from this property that we purchased, that we'd like to put a storage shed on it to keep some of my toys, I guess you could say, inside it, locked up out of the sun and the rain. Like I said, Ginger and I have been together 35 years. We have 2 daughters and 2 grandkids now already with those daughters. And the only reason I kind of bring up this is to talk about our character here, that Dick Dyer Toyota, my home on Lake Murray, has always been kept top notch. We do everything right by the community, by our customers. We just want to assure the neighborhood and Richland County that we just want to use this building as our personal use. We will put any kind of covenants and restrictions on it that are necessary to make the neighborhood happy with that. And we've talked with most of the neighbors now. I think we can get that done. And we just want to assure them that this property is going to be nice, barely used. It's just going to be more of a storage lot for our extra items and some of the vehicles we've gotten from our family and things like that. Let's see, we do have Brad Everhart with Valentine Civic Association with us here tonight. He's the president of that association, and they kind of are going along with us, as well as Murray Kleppert is another neighbor that lives on the road there that is in support of our change in our zoning as well. I'm sorry, I'm very nervous. Okay, but we'll work with the council anyway and the neighborhood any way we can to get this zoning changed. We submitted plans 7 times under the RU, and they all got turned down because the shed part of the house was going to be too big. Thank you very much for your time.
Next person is Bob Fuller. Mr. Fuller, please.
My name is Robert F. Fuller. I'm an attorney in Columbia. My address is 1720 Main Street, and I am here as attorney representing Mr. Dyer and his wife as the applicants in their LLC name on this particular property. I think it's important to understand that Mr. Dyer really doesn't particularly want to or need to do anything about the zoning on his property, except for the fact that it is required under the ordinances to adjust what it is now from RU to make a way to do the building that he intends to use on the property and wants to use. It is an opportunity for him to store boats and cars that he has over and above the ones that they use daily, to keep in a secure place near his home and near the lake for the use of the family. He has declared over and over and over this is not for any commercial use whatsoever, and specifically not for anything light industrial. At the suggestion of the planning and development staff, he began to explore the possibilities of putting the building on that property in a zoning classification that would work for it. And the staff accommodated his thoughts about it, and that we selected the LI classification. It sounds like a more intensive use than he is proposing to ever do on that property. The idea of restricting your own property is not often done, but it has been done in Richland County. There have been opportunities where lot numbers or particular uses that were objectionable to people have been agreed out, and the property has been imposed with restrictions which would prevent it blossoming into something other than what it was intended to be when the zoning was put in place. Mr. Dyer has been perfectly willing to do that, and we stand ready to do that and make it happen if the zoning would be approved.
Next person, Mr. Brad Everhart. He's for.
Good evening, Council. My name is Brad Everhart. I'm a State Farm Insurance Agent at Irmo. My address is 1530 Dutch Fork Road, Irmo, South Carolina, 29063. I'm the president of the Ballantyne Civic Association also. When we met Bruce several months ago about the situation, wasn't me.
Sorry about that.
No problem. He presented to the association. When we look at the neighborhood and what's there, if I lived there, I would love to have I love the idea of having a 1 acre little buffer with something that's very, very little used compared to the 14 acres that just took place. And we have no idea what's going to go there, and it's rated for light industrial.
Hold for 1 minute, I'm sorry. Hold on.
I'm sorry, we're having a problem with the audio.
Mr. Dyer's agreed to, in writing, put down some covenants and restrictions, which I know cannot be enforced by Richland County, but we've also dealt with this with a public storage, boat and RV storage place before, and the Ballantyne Civic Association and all the neighbors were very glad that they would try to keep something like this from getting anything like a light industrial. After pulling into his yard today, I can see exactly why his wife wants him to have this, because there's no room in the yard on both sides for him to have any more toys. So I appreciate your time this evening. We definitely approve of it, and I think it's a good situation, and it's going to be very well done when you see all the plans. Thank y'all.
You have one person speaking against. It's Catherine. Could you help me with your name? Crowley. Okay. Crowley. All right. Please come forward. Give your full name and address.
Catherine Crowley. That would be 1058 Gates Road, adjacent to the property. Catherine and Chris Crowley. And I will talk over that, but I wish you'd turn it off. Somebody, whoever's got that. Thank you very much.
They're working on that, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Malinowski, I've spoken to you before. I'm glad that you're here. But anyway, Mr. Dyer and his wife are some of the nicest people you'll ever meet. They are so nice. She showed me her grandchildren. He's spoken very kindly and nicely and gently to me every single time I've spoken to him. There's only one problem. I could not locate him. I wanted to find where he was so I could see how long it would take him to respond to an emergency. So I'm still against it. And the reason is that I know where he lives now, and he doesn't have any room to put anything else. And, I understand him wanting to do that, but there's boat storage and car storage and just anything you want to have all around us, like there is anywhere. And I understand his building will be 20 feet from rural, which would, our property is rural, and his is LI, and I understand there's not that many feet that there's going to be in between, and our bedrooms are right there. And Mr. Dyer, Mr. Everhart's never even seen him with anything alcoholic. I'm not saying that, but he does have sons-in-law that are both very young men. like in their 30s, and I don't know what the other one.
We're not here to talk about individuals and people. Just tell us what you think about the zoning requirement.
Well, thank you, sir, for clarification. The main thing is that I wouldn't want him that close to our bedrooms and with the LI. And if he's interested in, changing it so in 40 years I don't understand the covenants and all that so much. He just mentioned that today. But that's mainly think about it. I'm not asking you, sir, but I'm just asking generally, would you want a man cave feet away from your bedroom? Think about it. That's why, mostly. And I understand he's gonna do all kinds of covenants and ordinances, but you said that Richland County can't, law enforcement can't do anything about anything that happens there. Is that correct? Can I ask that question?
This is not a time to ask questions. We want to hear you.
Okay,
But
well-
we'll have our staff to answer that question for you later, though.
Right. I understand also that staff recommendations come to the county council, and they have recommended that it not be done. So, I just wanted to bring that out. And I appreciate your time. Thank you, each one. Sorry if I was a little loud. Sorry.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, there are no more applicants signed up. Thank you.
Public hearing is now closed.
Mr. Chair,
Mr.
excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Price, you recognize.
Again, as we begin to work our way back to in-person meetings, we did receive a few comments, letters in opposition to this request. Those have been provided to each of the council members, so I'm not sure how you would like to proceed with that.
As a council member that disagrees, it is my intent to treat it the way we treated, prior to our going into virtual meetings, and that is each council member should have received those and had an opportunity to read those or can read those, and I would prefer that we just stick with the ones person and hear those, and then I'd like to recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've got a question for Mr. Price and I guess the attorney as well. And that is, in our agenda, on the very first page, it shows under case number 2, RU to LI, 1.16 acres. But on page 13 of our agenda, it shows the acreage is 1,016 acres, 1016. Now, is this something that, I believe it's something that should be corrected so any of the public reviewing this information knows which is the correct information. Attorney McLean, could you respond to that, please? Is this an item that would possibly cause us to have to defer this so it's published correctly?
I think as long as you, when you vote and you discuss it, you make it clear what you're voting on, I think you're fine.
Okay, Mr. Price, would you let everyone know exactly what's being voted on this acreage?
Yes, you're actually voting on 1.16 acres.
1.16 acres.
Yes, sir.
And that should be the correct number on page 13. Thank you. Mr. Price, could you also tell us the required setbacks for property like this from a building?
For projects
For
within
LI zoning, what would the required setback be?
the required setbacks in the LI zoning designation, it's 25 front, 0 on the sides, and I believe 10 feet in the rear. I want to confirm the rear, but I know the sides are 10 feet.
That gives us an about. How long before the new land development code rules, or, this is something that you and I have discussed in the past, where somebody like Mr. Dyer comes in, he only wants to build a garage, but our ordinances state that you can't do that just on property that's rural unless there's a main facility, a main house on that property. Is this something we're going to be looking into in the future to change so that you don't need to go to this extreme zoning of LI just to build a garage?
No, sir, I don't believe that's going to be part of the new land development code rewrite, that we're going to be consistent with accessory structures must be accessory to a principal use, which is one of the reasons why the rural zoning designation did not work. And that's why they had to come in for LI, because what was being proposed on the site is its own standalone principal use, essentially a warehouse, which is why we have the LI zoning request before you.
Okay, and Mr. Dyer mentioned that the building he wanted was too big to put on the property where his home was, something like that. I'm guessing you mean where your home currently is? You're not building a home on this property? Okay. Just so that everyone knows that any type of covenants that are created are done so between a property owner and surrounding property owners. Richland County does not enforce them. Richland County will not enter into any type of a covenant deal whereby we say, if in fact you'll do this, then we'll give you the zoning. That's not how it works, because that's contractual zoning, that's against the law, and that would not come into our selection as to what we should or shouldn't do here at the county level for these requests. While individuals many times come up in I have to say it this way and be honest, they claim that they want to use a property for a particular use. Well, we're not all around here forever. So when we go, there's no guarantee that the use we state we're using it for is going to remain. And there are many other things that can be put up in the LI zoning. But I would ask my colleagues, I draw your attention to page 17 of our agenda. And on page 17, where they see the yellow outlined box, the site, in front of that little pond right there, some of the letters that came in were from the Cedar Chase Lane and that Cedar Creek community back there. You can see this property will in no way, shape, or form affect those people from the property. I know that the other comments were that there's traffic that goes up and down this road at school time. Well, the traffic's going to go there twice a day to and from the school, regardless of what is put there. The property immediately to the left of this, that green area in front of the other pond, that is already zoned light industrial, and you'll see that on the very next page, page 18. You can see the site. You can see that that's zoned LI. You can see across the street is also general commercial. So this small little sliver actually is very compatible to the surrounding areas, and our staff, while they did recommend denial on page 15 of the agenda, it says, however, the proposed request would be in character with and compatible to the surrounding land uses and zoning districts along Gates Road. That being said, along with all my other comments, I will move for approval of this request.
Second.
Moving proper second for approval. For the discussion.
Mr. Chair,
You recognize Ms. Marion?
and I just want to go on the record and state this one more time, and that is that here again, we have something that the comprehensive plan says one thing, but what's actually happening around us is totally different. At some point, the two have to meet so that we don't continue to have this conversation. The fact that there is a similar property next door, our zoning next door to where the Dyers want to build, I just think that we're spending way too much time having this same conversation. And I know that there's a timeline that we have to work through, but I sure would like to encourage staff to be able to take a ride maybe, or even, to do a little bit further work than just checking, okay, it meets, because some of this stuff, if you just check it meets based upon the comprehensive plan, it meets, but when you see what's going on in the community, it does not meet. Thank you.
Further discussion? Only I'll call the roll for the motion for item 5A2, which was for approval.
Malinowski,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston, Teratio,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Overture Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton. Motion passes.
That brings us to item 5A3 on your agenda, which is case number 21-020MA. Thomas Fowler, that's from GC to RM-HM. That's at 4725 Alpine Road, tax map number R19712-10-33. That public hearing is now open. Mr. Price, did anyone sign up to speak? I'm sorry. Thank you. So it was, no one signed up to speak. That public hearing is now open. Public hearing is now closed. Thank you, Ms. McBride. That brings us to item 4 on your agenda, which is case map number. I'm sorry. Let's call for the vote for that. The motion for that. I'm sorry. Before we move forward, the public hearing is now closed. Can I get a motion?
Mr. Chair.
Try to get us through this. I got a motion. Ms. English, you recognize?
Yeah, move to approve. Wanted the staff to understand that this lesser zoning code will allow for a lower impact within the Alpine Road. So move to approve.
Second.
When proper second, any discussion reference to item 3? If not, I will now ask Ms. Owens to call the roll for the motion for item 3.
Yes, sir. Malinowski,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Overture Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. That brings us to item 4 on your agenda, which is case number 21-021MA. That's Matthew Condon. That is PD, 2PD, and that's Farrell Road, tax map number R17404-01-01, and also R17408-01-01, 02, and 03. That public hearing is now open. Ms. McBride, did anyone sign up?
Yes, sir. Mr. Kevin Steele, the applicant, signed up. Give your full name and address, and you have 2 minutes to speak.
Yes, ma'am. Kevin Steelman, 522 Lady Street, Columbia. Here to speak on behalf of the applicant. Again, we will be developing some of the residential portion of this PD, and again, looking to reduce the density of the residential portion to incorporate more single-family detached land uses. And on this particular property, much of it has been developed already for commercial and retail along the Killian Road frontage. The portions that were being modified to a lower density residential are along North Pines. And we intend to, between now and a final reading, work with Ms. Barron to have some informational meetings with the community just to be able to address any questions that might arise. So be happy to answer any questions that you have. Otherwise, just ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. That public hearing is closed. Ms. Barron, you recognize?
Thank you. I want to say that I think that Mr. Condon and Mr. Stillman, I want to thank you publicly for reaching out to me to not only address what you wanted to do in our community, but also the concerns of the citizens. And as Mr. Stillman mentioned, we are going to be hosting a couple of, we're not doing town hall meetings, but we're going to do somewhat of a roadshow kind of thing, because a lot of this is commercial property that will be developed. And this property was initially developed with the thought of having big box stores. And we know that in the last year and a half, big box stores are somewhat a thing of the past, and now we have the Amazon man. So I do want to say that thank you publicly, and sir, I move to approve this project.
Was there a second?
Second.
It's moving properly. Second, any discussion?
Mr. Chair, just a quick question.
You recognize Mr.
And that is, maybe Mr. Steelman signed in the wrong place, but it was mentioned that he was the applicant, and on page 29, that shows Matthew Congdon, so who is it?
Yes. Again, Mr. Malinowski, as we try to, again, to merge what we previously did with what we're doing now as far as in-person meetings, the applicant is, you're correct, is Matthew Condon, and he did submit comments regarding his request, and those were provided to each of the council members.
I got those here.
Yes, sir.
Not, I'll ask Ms. Owen to call the roll for the motion for item 4.
Malinowski,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Horatio,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Overture Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English, Newton. Motion passes.
That brings us to item 5 on your agenda. That's case number 21-022MA, Frank McMaster, and that's from RU to GC. That's on Barbara Drive, tax map number R170-17109-02-06. That public hearing is now open. Ms. McBride, anyone sign up to speak?
Yes, sir, Mr. Frank McMaster, the applicant. Please give your full name and address. You have 2 minutes to speak.
Attorney Frank McMaster, Columbia, South Carolina. Our residence is 1801 Barbara Drive, which is actually right across the street from this property. This is 8.76 acres, been in my family since 1952 when my grandmother bought this portion. We own some other portions out there also. And it's been rural all that time. Since then, it's, of course, grown up commercially, and that's what we're trying to get the entire 8.76 acres to be zoned into commercial property. In front of it, moving towards Two Notch Road, we got a Fairfield Inn. And then another 2 acres that sits adjoining to our property. The buyer just bought the 2 acres. He's been approved for general construction, and he's building a hotel there. So we got hotel, and now he's buying, the same buyer is buying another 2 acres from us out of the 8.76. And he's going, that's the reason why we're changing this from rural to general commercial. But we want the entire plot to be, the 8.76, to be changed from rural to general commercial, so we don't have to keep coming back here. We've got some other property in the area, but this is the only one we're dealing with. And it's kind of like hotels out here popping up like mushrooms. Hate to see it go, but quite frankly, as time goes on, things change. I think at one time, Two Notch Road was an Indian trail marked by 2 notches on a tree. Now there's all county roads, but that's the way it goes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No one else signed.
That public hearing is closed. Ms. Aaron, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I've not had the opportunity, as it's been my custom since being on council, to speak with the applicant about this project. I'm glad to hear from him today. So at this point, I'm going to move to defer this until we can have further discussion.
Second.
Motion to defer is properly second. That's not debatable. I'll ask Ms. Owens to call the roll for the motion for deferral.
Malinowski,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Horatio,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Overture Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Mr. Price, did you want this, before we adjourn, did you want to say something about our land use update? Oh, you
Yes.
mentioned something to me about that, but I didn't see it on the agenda.
Yes, sir, I apologize. I'll kind of take the first part of this. At a previous council meeting, the land development code was, at the motion of council was.
Mr. Chair, point of order, do we have to reconsider the agenda? Because after that case, the only item is adjournment. It doesn't even say other. So Mr. Price is going to go into some detail about
Just
something.
will
I
give us
think,
some information, yeah.
think we need to add it.
Is it something you can just send to us and?
Sir,
This is the information regarding the land use plan that we're working on. Is there something you could send to us, this question about, since it's not on the agenda?
you've already received it. I was just gonna, we're just gonna go ahead and just briefly just touch on what you received. But each of the council members has received a memo. It was addressed to you, the rest of the council, regarding the land development code and the path going forward, as far as providing dates, for community engagement, and also, potential dates for council to meet, and take action on the land development code rewrite.
Vote to adjourn.
Motion for adjournment, is there a second?
Second.
It's moving properly second for adjournment. As you may recall, a meeting following this meeting is our special call meeting. I'll ask you, can you take only 5 minutes? Call roll for the motion to adjourn.
Malinowski.
Yes.
Pugh.
Yes.
McBride.
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes.
Teratio.
Yes.
Barron.
Yes.
Overshaw Walker.
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Take 5 minutes and then we'll start the special call meeting.